literally the next position, she came back and she started yelling at me and said, she's not gonna sleep with you.
If you show up to a WNBA game and you attempt to define what a woman is, a WNBA player is gonna try to fight you.
The internet is exploding with responses to ENES KANTER being kicked out of the WNBA game. She goes on this screaming meltdown because she's upset that Sophie Cunningham scored.
Within 2 seconds, every single player out on the court would be a biological man.
The WNBA is currently witnessing the greatest basketball boom in its history, driven almost single-handedly by the electric talent, unmatched vision, and generational drawing power of Caitlin Clark.
Then you get stars like Caitlin Clark and the drama with Angel Reese and the Sophie Cunninghams, and they continue to just shoot themselves in the foot.
The WNBA holds itself up as a standard bearer for women's sports, for girls around the country. They love setting examples and being role models for women and girls around the country. We should be talking about how Caitlin had another double-double, 37 and 10.
Night after night, Clark is putting on absolute clinics, filling arenas to maximum capacity, and pulling off eye-popping statistical performances like 37-point 10-assist masterclasses that prove she is the undisputed future of women's basketball.
One, with the girls just beating the ass of whoever's really good around them, and secondly, with this woke stance on allowing men into the game.
Kanter Freedom is one guy, and along with another NBA player, trolling them to come down with a clear position after they all started attacking Sophie Cunningham for very casually and compassionately expressing in an ESPN interview that she didn't think this should happen. That's what blew it all up. So as a reminder, who has a problem with that? It is the left. Who wants to change what the standards are?
It turns out if you show up to a WNBA game and you attempt to define what a woman is, a WNBA player is going to try to fight you and you're going to get kicked out. That's what happened to former NBA player ENES KANTER Freedom.
But while Clark is out there breaking records and lifting the entire economic tide of the league, the WNBA front office and several hostile veteran players seem determined to drag the sport right back into chaotic, self-inflicted drama. Instead of embracing this golden era and protecting the pristine product on the floor, the league just found itself embroiled in another embarrassing, toxic spectacle that has left fans completely stunned.
This shouldn't be happening. This is not a sportsmanship. So I was confused, and then she started to come towards me. I literally got up. I played 11 years in NBA. I know the rules. I did not step over the baseline. So I literally just got up, opened my hands, and I was like, I'm here to protect women. I'm here to support my friends. That's all. And then she was just cussing and yelling, and then right after that, the security just got in and just threw me out.
The absolute boiling point occurred during a heated clash between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever, a game that quickly transformed from a marquee basketball showcase into an unhinged, profanity-laced courtside altercation centered around Chicago Sky guard Natasha and former NBA player ENES KANTER Freedom.
Now the WNBA responded by saying, we're going to get together as a group and try to define what a woman is. They put together an entire task force that met over several days to discuss this simple question: what is a woman? They left this meeting, they left this group not being able to define what a woman is.
The fact that they needed to have an emergency meeting about ENES KANTER Freedom tells you they're doing a bad job for the rest of the country, and they're still a part of this problem.
And then they've allowed male athletes to compete in women's categories. So if you are not going to define what a woman is, and you're going to say that you're open because you want to be inclusive, then what ENES is doing is not anything different.
KANTER showed up to Wintrust Arena sitting courtside while wearing a t-shirt that simply displayed the classic dictionary definition of a woman as an adult human female. For the first half of the contest, the atmosphere was completely peaceful as KANTER sat quietly enjoying the high-level basketball.
Now, some people are going as far as to support the woman who had a mid-game meltdown screaming at ENES for his sexual preferences.
And I just cannot believe that she was just cussing and using those F-bombs in front of all these kids.
American pastime where people take their kids to, spend time with their family, they take them to a game. The WNBA doesn't seem to want that image.
However, everything spiraled out of control late in the third quarter after Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham Cunningham hit a smooth jumper. Kanter, who is a personal friend and vocal supporter of Cunningham, simply raised his hands in the air to celebrate the play like any paying fan in the arena. But Natasha Cloud apparently took immediate offense to a fan cheering for Sophie Cunningham. On the very next possession down the floor, Cloud completely abandoned her basketball duties, marched straight toward the baseline, and began wildly screaming directly at Kanter.
I texted her after the game. I was like, listen, just please focus on your game because you are a national treasure and she is an American hero and she should be protected at all costs because she's not only inspiring the young girls in America but all over the world.
The WNBA and players like Natasha Cloud, let's not get in the face of and try to fight the men who are trying to protect women by answering the question.
According to Kanter's account of the incident, Cloud screamed at him across the court, yelling that Sophie Cunningham was not going to sleep with him. A bewildered Kanter raised his hands in total confusion, attempting to explain that he was simply there to enjoy the game, support his friend, and advocate for women's sport.
He was wearing a shirt that said woman, adult, human, female, and was raising the issue. It's forcing the WNBA, one of the most important women's sport leagues in the country, in the world really, to confront this issue. And ENES KANTER Freedom seems perfectly willing to push this to its logical limit. Go to the draft, see what happens.
But Cloud refused to back down, aggressively stepping toward him, hurling a barrage of loud F-bombs and causing such a scene that her own Chicago Sky teammates had to physically hold her back on the sideline. What makes this entire outburst so appalling is that it took place right in front of impressionable teenagers, young kids, and families who bought tickets expecting a professional sports broadcast.
Just want to come, sit down and watch the game and enjoy the game. He even messaged us and say, just enjoy the game. I said, perfect. They knew I was coming to the game.
In any legitimate professional sports organization, an athlete charging the sideline and aggressively cursing out a paying fan would result in an immediate technical foul, an ejection, and a steep league fine. But in the upside-down world of WNBA decorum, arena security stepped in and actually escorted ENES KANTER Freedom out of the building while Cloud suffered zero mid-game consequences.
Section 13, right? Article 13, Section 1 says if you identify as a woman, then you're allowed to play. I identify as a woman. Sure, yeah. Okay. So I can play. Just following the rules.
The league essentially penalized a paying fan for sitting quietly with his hands up while completely shielding a player who threw a childish temper tantrum. This shocking double standard instantly set the internet ablaze. But what Natasha Cloud and WNBA officials failed to realize is that this viral meltdown was about to backfire in a massive way, proving Sophie Cunningham completely right in front of the entire sports world.
We will continue to engage all league stakeholders in the coming weeks and months. There are no immediate eligibility matters affecting the WNBA. ENES KANTER Freedom and Royce White have no intention of demeaning or marginalizing anybody.
The immediate fallout from Natasha Cloud's explosive behavior has exposed a deep, undeniable panic within the WNBA, while simultaneously vindicating Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham.
He's stepping in to point out that it's absurd. He's not the one disrupting women's basketball. They're the ones disrupting women's basketball. He's not the one making it about him. They're the ones making it about him by refusing to back down in the face of him saying, listen, I'm going out for the draft.
Months before this courtside disaster, Cunningham courageously spoke out about the need to preserve fairness and integrity in female sports, expressing a common sense viewpoint shared by millions of basketball fans across the nation. For daring to voice her honest perspective, Cunningham was unfairly demonized by hyper-political sports commentators and rival players who tried to make her look like an outcast.
They put together an entire task force. They met over the course of several days and they came back with absolutely zero answers.
Yet, while critics launched relentless verbal attacks, Cunningham quietly put her head down, let her play, do the talking, and proved to be an indispensable, highly physical enforcer on the court, repeatedly stepping up to protect Caitlin Clark from dirty fouls and aggressive physical play. Cloud's complete loss of composure during a routine game proved precisely what Cunningham had been warning everyone about all along, that a faction of players in this league are far more invested in political posturing and aggressive intimidation than they are in basic sportsmanship or growing the game.
Instead of doing her best to play basketball, she is the one who begins getting political. She responded to every trans kid person, you are a part of my community and tribe.
Rather than handling competition like professionals, Cloud chose to scream crude insults and project her own political frustrations onto a fan who was simply celebrating a bucket. The ridiculousness of the situation only intensified when media figures weighed in, with Charlemagne the God criticizing Kanter for creating a disruptive circus Ennis, and Dave Portnoy calling him a clown for making the game about himself.
Matt Ryan defended Ennis. He said, just insane times we're living in, getting demonized for trying to protect women's sports and calling out the absurdity that the WNBA cannot define what the W is. Basically calling him a real leader.
But as many objective observers pointed out, Kanter only managed to highlight the league's vulnerabilities because the WNBA front office has consistently refused to establish clear, firm biological eligibility standards, even going so far as to convene an emergency task force that famously failed to define what a woman actually is. Following his ejection, Kanter reached out to text Sophie Cunningham directly, encouraging her to stay focused on her game, ignore the petty outside noise, and calling her a true national treasure who inspires young girls everywhere.
I'm very confused how a woman can begin screaming at a guy and then the man who was celebrating, which every fan should do at a game, suddenly becomes the aggressor. That is just complete insanity.
While the league's front office continues to scramble and panic over how to handle Kanter's declaration that he identifies as a woman under Article 13 of their own vague rulebook, the contrast between the two sides of the WNBA could not be more stark. On one hand, you have elite competitors like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, who bring passion, toughness, and unprecedented star power to the hardwood every single night, driving record-breaking television ratings and selling out arenas in every city they visit.
You guys know that ENES KANTER Freedom and Royce White, who are two former NBA players, came forward and said, you know what, we're going to declare ourselves for the WNBA draft.
On the other hand, you have players throwing courtside meltdowns and league executives who seem terrified of standing up for basic common sense and biological reality. If the WNBA wants to protect its booming popularity and maintain the millions of new fans brought in by Caitlin Clark's brilliant play, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and league decision makers must stop catering to political outrage and start prioritizing professionalism, fan safety, and authentic basketball.
Why should it be any different for Ennis judging somebody's transition or judging somebody's gender identity? You can't get mad at Ennis but then welcome another man because his hair is longer or he's changed his name or he looks, more feminine.
Caitlin Clark has handed this league a golden opportunity to dominate the sports landscape, but that future will quickly evaporate if unhinged antics are allowed to replace elite basketball. What are your thoughts on Natasha Cloud's wild meltdown and Sophie Cunningham being proven right? Drop your take in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to keep the real conversation going.